Hello, guys. Welcome to Rex Arthur TV, Rex Arthur Show. This is the LGBTQ channel that discusses LGBTQ issues with an LGBTQ perspective and a humanistic approach. And today we are discussing a very interesting topic. I had this topic after having a nice Facebook discussion about raw sex. And I was telling my friends, the best type of sex is raw, bare backing, what we call in gay lingo. And some of my friends liked the post and others did not like it. And those who didn't like it said, no, you cannot say raw sex is the best because people get diseases. And I told them, no, I call it the best. Not because of the safety level, but because of the sexual satisfaction. And I told them that besides, naturally, we have all been having sex without condoms and without protection. And there's something beautiful about sex, be whatever sex, gay sex, hetero, whatever sex you're having, when it is without any impediment like a condom, simply because it increases in intimacy and all of that stuff. So skin touches skin, and like when the penis, which has outer skin, enters the anus, which has internal skin, there is a feeling, very nice feeling. And it's even the same when you do oral sex or vaginal sex. So all sex is, when it's without any impediment, it is the best sex. That's my view. And because there's no artificial impediment, there's no like people doing frottage. Frottage is having sex with your clothes on. You can rub each other and then release. So the problem with that is that there is no physical, biological connection. But it is still good sex, because sex to most of us, all of us, is release. It is complete when you have release. So when we were discussing this, and my friends who were not for what I was discussing decided to say, it's because of HIV and all of these diseases. And I told them, no, HIV is not even 200 years old. And then when we say that, that's when I got a thought to say, let me discuss about, let's do a research online, Google, and we're going to call this Rex Arthur's Google search. So we're going to be doing searches. This is going to be a new playlist on how Rex Arthur Googles, or when Rex Arthur Googles. So we're going to call it Rex Arthur's LGBTQ Google search, or Rex Arthur's Google search. So today we're going to look at how old some STDs are. Now, let us see herpes simplex. It is an STD, and it is a viral disease caused by simplex, the simplex virus. And I want to find out the age of herpes simplex. Let's see if Wikipedia has given us the age. No, it hasn't given us the age of herpes simplex. Let's come here. No, they are focusing mostly on the prognosis and management. Okay, let's go to how old is herpes again. So that one hasn't helped us. Wow, look at that. Stanford Education tells us herpes infection virus has been prevalent as early as ancient Greek times. Good. Let's read that, and then we're going to read this one, and then we go to another STD. Herpes virus infection has been prevalent as early as ancient Greek times. Hippocrates is known to have described the cutaneous spreading of herpes simplex lesions, and scholars of Greek civilization define the Greek word herpes to mean to creep or crawl, in reference to the spreading nature of herpetic skin lesions. Even Shakespeare is thought to have been familiar with recurrent herpes lesions and their transmission in Romeo and Juliet. He writes Queen Mab to say, "O ladies' lips, who straight on kisses dream, which oft the angry mob with the blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweet meats tainted are." Nevertheless, it was not until 1893 when Vidal recognized that human transmission of herpes simplex infection from one individual to another. Wow! So you can see, ancient Greek times, there was herpes. Good. Now, let's go to the other article. Oops. How old is herpes? Wow, this is a nice article, and then we'll finish with herpes. Now, that's very interesting. As we're waiting for the website to load, it is very interesting to note that herpes has been that old. Ancient Greek times, that means 400 BC plus 2000, that is over 2000 years old. Herpes has been that old. And of course, now these days, in the modern era, we have we live better, and we are hygienic, and we have medicines. So death, these diseases will cause before the human. Ego simplex one that before they from chimpanzees 6 million years ago. Sorry, what has happened? Has just happened. I want to see how we got a problem here, Houston. Problem. Okay. So it came from the chimpanzees, who happen to be our ancestors, and what happened? It spread to human beings from the chimp. I was looking for that. That's from San Diego. The San Diego University. Yeah, there you see. I just wanted to read it because it was saying former hominid, so 1.6 years old. Because human beings have started the problem of herpes, and it is also found in chimpanzees, and it's the viruses that are found in chimpanzees. 80% are found in us. People speculated that HIV came from chimpanzees, again, because of the have with the chimps. That is subject to discussion. How old is gonorrhea? How old gonorrhea? Good. This is gonorrhea history. We have websites that have problems, but we get through it. Why it's not moving? Ananya is not opening up. Okay, let's go back and another. How old is gonorrhea? Remember, we're still having the bi-week, and I hope it's going as you remember the bisexual midst. Okay, gonorrhea. I like this article, but it's not opening. So I'm gonna look for another article. And okay, this is a nice one. Okay, is it loading? Yes, it's gonna load. For one, it's believed that clap refers to the French term clapier, which means brothel. Okay, gonorrhea comes from about clapping. That's the to be called because clapping. Find out why it's so, and clapping is brothel in French. So now let's read whether this article does justice to our quest. Okay. We're gonna get where we're going. When you're on it, it's like you're driving a car. When you do a search, you are driving to a destination. So we are in a city. So before we get to that city, there's a bit of jam. So the jam will clear up. So it's a very interesting topic. So what does this mean? There are some diseases that are very new, and there are some diseases that are very old. So we found herpes is a very old disease, and therefore never been dealt with like it is known. Herpes is incurable. Then it's a sign that human beings have not been able to deal with this as a virus. And could it be that ancient diseases are very hard to deal with? Or if there's an ancient disease that's hard to deal with, then it means that we still have a long way to go in treating it. And then secondly, it is a very complex disease. So how old are we going to repeat it again? Let's see Wikipedia help us out. And your new destination, I'm called gonorrhea Wikipedia. Yeah, and history, good. Thank you, Wikipedia. Let's translate the biblical terms zav for male and for female as gonorrhea. It's been suggested that mercury was used as a treatment for gonorrhea. In English, the Mary some inject mercury via urinary unfortunate crewman suffering name clap in reference as in 1854 Dr. Mann at gonorrhea in his book Homeopathic Guide Urinary and Sexual Organs that the disease was common in prostitutes and homosexuals. Recommended cures as aconite to cure shoes, pain, purulent discharge, nux vomica, and when the symptoms are complicated with hemorrhage and stricture of the rectum. These include argentum, that's gold, belladonna, and silver drugs. 19th century, however, replaced by protar. Elch entered this type of colloidal silver, which was by Bayer in 1997. Yes, colloidal silver is a very, very common most of these homeopathic people. The silver-based treatment came into use in the 1940s. The onset of gonorrhea as a prevalent disease or epidemic can be determined from the historical record. One of them occurs in the Acts of the English In 1161, this body reduced the spread of the perilous infirmity of symptoms described a consistent diagnostic of gonorrhea. A symptom by Louis IX in France in 1256, regulation with banishment. Symptoms noted at the siege of Acre by STDS. Coincidental to or dependent on epidemic, several occurred in cities, hired public doctors, treated patients. First, that the that physicians confer orders of the Catholic. That's very interesting. Medievals in the employ of their cities were required to treat prostitutes infected with the burning lepers and other epidemic. After Pope completely secularized, the physicians were more willing to sexually transmitted. Liking this Pope Boniface, he finally secularized the practice. Another story we'll talk about later on. Medicine is really the job of the priest. And Europe, just like Africa and the religious people were the scientists of the country in Africa and in Asia. But in Europe, the less secularized professions, teaching was secularized. Medicine was secularized. Many things were secularized. And even the army, because in the past, European armies, especially under the Catholic. So it's very interesting. But what I'm happy about is we're being treated by the public workers, which is very good. Homosexuals were also being for this, and that prostitutes and homosexuals in large cities. That's where there's a lot of sex. Thank you, sex, for what you did. Dr. William Goldman, we thank you so much for studying the disease. We're going to another one. And we're driving the car, looking for a good shop where we can buy what we're looking for. Driving the car, gonorrhea history. Okay, let's try this one. I hope it opens up. Okay, it was by this Indian. If it doesn't open up, we're gonna give up on this one. Oops. Okay, sorry. I don't see it opening up. Nope. Our Indian doctor cannot be reached. So let's go and look. Okay, let's go and try one more person. I liked the Wikipedia one, but I just need one more. And then we go to another disease. I'm tempted to go to that one, but it doesn't look so clear. Okay. All right. Okay. Most of them are not so clear about the history, so we will just leave it at that. But I think let's live with the Wikipedia explanation that it's as old, it's 1,000 years old, roughly 1,000 years old. So gonorrhea is 1,000 years old, herpes is 1.6 years old, 1.6 million years old. And now we come to how old is HPV. Let's go to Wikipedia. I'm beginning to trust them. Good. They have history. Thank you. In 1972, the Association of Human Papilloma Viruses with Skin Cancer in epidermodysplasia dysplasia versiciformis was proposed by Stefania Jablonska in Poland. In 1978, Jablonska and Gerard Orth at the Pasteur Institute discovered HPV-5 in skin cancer. In 1976, Harold Zurhausen published the hypothesis that human papillomavirus plays an important role in the cause of cervical cancer. In 1983 and 1984, Hausen and his collaborators identified HPV 16 and 18 in cervical cancer. The HeLa line cell line contains extra DNA in its genome that originated from HPV 18, type 18. So it was basically discovered that time in 1972. Of course, most of these diseases existed for some time, but it is only scientists who how old is HPV? Sorry, it is only scientists. When you find a disease, you write down the symptoms, and so that you can have a diagnosis, so that anytime you see symptoms similar to it, then you will know that person has that disease. So some diseases existed, like herpes has been in the chimpanzees, the hominids, for a very long time. But because the chimpanzees did not have research capabilities, they lived with it, and if they died, they died. But now, because we have studies, and secondly, with carbon dating, you can study what killed an animal or a human being through genetic studies and carbon dating. It's possible to date a disease, and that's why we are dating these diseases. So how old is HPV? The last time we've done Wikipedia, and here the focusing on the vaccine, because it is a very serious disease. As already you've heard, it's causing cervical cancer. So we are now working on getting a vaccine. Okay, I'm not seeing anyone talk about the history other than Wikipedia, so we're gonna stick to what Wikipedia has said, and it was found in 1972. So roughly HPV is less than 100 years old. Now let's go to another STD. How old is syphilis? Let's try Wikipedia, our favorite station. History, good, very good. The exact origin of his syphilis is disputed. Syphilis was definitely present in the Americas before European contact, and it may have been carried from the Americas to Europe by the returning crewmen from Christopher Columbus' voyage to the Americas, or it may have existed in Europe previously, but went unrecognized until shortly after Columbus returned. These are the Columbian and pre-Columbian hypotheses, respectively. The Columbian hypothesis best supported by available evidence. Now, I'm happy to read this because this is proof that homosexual activity was happening in the ships. And that's nice, very nice. You really had fun. There's nothing as good as being a sailor. Simply because most of the ships were homosexual or homosocial. By that I mean they were only men who were in the ships, especially explorer ships. So what could have happened, and when you're in the sea, and the sea is quiet, and you can decide, it's time to sleep, and so people maybe get cozy, and then they have sex with one another. So who knows? That's what happened. Of course, these are the ships, explorer ships, not the slave trade ships, and that's how it was. Now, the first written records of an outbreak of syphilis in Europe occurred in 1494 or 1495 in Naples, Italy, during a French invasion, Italian War 1494-98. Since it was claimed to have spread by French troops, it was initially called the French disease, by the people of Naples. Remember Marilyn Monroe? The French are known to die for love. They delight in fighting duels. Yes, the French really love to love. And in 1530, the pastoral name, syphilis, the name of a character, was first used by Italian physician and poet Girolamo Fracastoro as the title of his Latin poem in dactylic hexameter, describing the ravages of the disease in Italy. It was called the Great Pox. In the 16th century to the 19th century, syphilis was one of the largest public health burdens in prevalence, symptoms, and disability. Although records of its true prevalence were generally not kept because of the fearsome and sordid status of sexually transmitted diseases in those centuries, at that time the causative agent was unknown, but it was well known that it was spread sexually and also from mother to child. Its association with sex, especially sexual promiscuity and prostitution, made it an object of fear and revulsion and taboo. And the magnitude of this morbidity and mortality in those centuries reflected that, unlike today, there was no adequate understanding of its pathogenesis and no truly effective treatments. Its damage was not caused by so much by great sickness or death early in the course of the disease, but rather it's by gruesome effects decades after infection as it progressed to neurosyphilis with tabes dorsalis. The causative organism Treponema pallidum was first identified by Fritz Schaudin and Erich Hoffmann in 1905. The first effective treatment for syphilis was salvarsan, developed in 1910 Paul Ehrlich. The effectiveness of the treatment with penicillin was confirmed in trials in 1943. Before the discovery and use of antibiotics in the mid-20th century, mercury and isolation were commonly used with treatments often worse than the disease. During the 20th century, as both microbiology and pharmacology advanced greatly, syphilis, like many other infectious diseases, became more of an unimaginable burden than a scary, disfiguring mystery, at least in developed countries among those people who could not afford to pay for timely diagnosis and treatment. Oh my God, look at that. That's very interesting. Great people of our time. Many famous historical figures, including Franz Schubert, a very great musician, Arthur Schopenhauer, very great philosopher, Edward Manet, Charles Baudelaire, and Guy de Maupassant are believed to have had the disease. Friedrich Nietzsche was long believed to have gone mad. Oh, so sorry. He was a great philosopher as a result of tertiary syphilis, but that diagnosis has recently come into question. Thank goodness. Friedrich was such a great philosopher of God is dead, and Schopenhauer was also a great guy, and Franz, as I've told you, is a great musician. I do not know about Manet and the other guys, but yeah, they were busy having sex, so it's normal. Anyway, so what have we found out? Syphilis is how old? So that we can maybe there will be a birthday. Okay, at least in Europe, it was first recorded in 1494. So that means syphilis is around 550 years old. Or 500 years. So there you have it. Good. Now let's look for other STDs. How old is chlamydia? Let's check Wikipedia. It's becoming very faithful and very... Oops. Nope, they don't have history. So I think chlamydia is a very new disease. Oops. Oh gosh, I spelled it wrongly. How old is chlamydia? Forgive me, the spelling is wrong. It is supposed to be CH. Okay. Yeah, this is good. chlamydia, they are saying, and it's mostly found in women, I saw something here, that's why I'm running to it. And I can't see it. Methods. Okay. The discussion going on. Oops. Okay. I think we can't get that answer. Let's try one more time. How old is chlamydia? Let's try this Wikipedia. Evolution. Nope, they haven't given us a proper understanding of chlamydia. The genomes, that means the different types, the genetic strains of the chlamydia disease and developmental cycle. Nope. Okay, one more last time. Let's see if you can get the spelling right this time. No, I missed the L. Okay. Good. Let's go on. Let's keep on driving. We're driving our car. This is Rex Arthur's Google search. And we are doing quite fine. Okay, this is what I wanted. Was observed from 1203. Oh, sorry. That is not a year. I thought that was a year. Okay. I think chlamydia is a new disease from what I'm seeing. And so let's not push it. Yep. I don't see anybody talking about the history. So it seems to be a very modern disease. Oops, I've gone to the wrong sector. Now let's finish with how old is HIV? Oh no, how old is genital warts? We want to finish with HIV. Let's see if anyone has become very historical. No. So let's try and work with Wikipedia. You can see how anal warts look like, or genital warts. Let's hope they have history. No, they don't have. They only have etymology. And it comes from the word rooted pointed wart, knuckle, and acimanitum in Latin. So these guys do not have. Okay, let's try now. How old is hepatitis B? And oops, sorry, I did something wrong there. How old? It's also a virus, so most viruses tend to be very old. Not all of them. Let's see if Wikipedia can do us a favor. Good, thank you. The hepatitis B virus has infected humans since at least the Bronze Age. Yeah, exactly. I think most viruses tend to be very old. The evidence was obtained from 4,500-year-old human remains. Are you seeing? That's very possible. 4,500-year-old humans. According to the 2018 study, the viral genomes obtained by shotgun sequencing became the oldest ever recovered from vertebrate samples. It was also found that some ancient hepatitis viral strains still infect humans, while others became extinct. My God, these strains that are still alive. Oh my, very interesting. This disproved the belief that hepatitis B originated in the New World and spread to Europe around the 16th century. Another 2018 study of the remains of a mummified child found in Basilica of San Domenico Maggiore concluded that the child who lived in the 16th century had a form of hepatitis B virus and that the virus was closely related to modern variants. The earliest record of an epidemic caused by hepatitis B was made by Luhrmann in 1885. An outbreak of smallpox in Bremen in 1883 and 1,289 shipyard employees were vaccinated with lymph from other people. After several weeks and up to 8 months, 191 of the vaccinated workers became ill with jaundice and were diagnosed as suffering from Serramas hepatitis. Other employees who had been inoculated with different batches of lymph remained healthy. Luhrmann's paper was now regarded as a classical example of an epidemiological study, proved that the contaminated lymph was the source of the outbreak. Later, numerous similar outbreaks were reported following the introduction. In 1909, hypodermic needles that were used and, more importantly, reused for administering salvarsan for the treatment of syphilis. The virus was not discovered until 1966 when Barack Bloomberg, then working at the National Institutes of Health, discovered the Australian antigen, later known to be hepatitis B surface antigen or HBsAg, in the blood of an Australian, Aboriginal people. Although a virus had been suspected since the research published by Frederick McCallum in 1947, David Dane and others discovered the virus particle in 1997 by electron microscopy. By the early 1980s, the genome of the virus has since been sequenced and the first vaccines were being tested. I'm very happy about this word in English called discover. A virus can exist, but it can be undiscovered. And the moment a scientist discovers, because people in the past had very many diseases, but they never knew the cause of those diseases. So it took scientists, and this is why you should really reward scientists. It took scientists to study and find out the cause of those diseases. And they found the viruses that cause diseases. You see, beauty of the biology is that there are some diseases that are caused by bacteria, some diseases that are caused by viruses, some diseases that are caused by other foreign agents that enter the body, like when you are bitten by a mosquito, the mosquito exchanges the blood with its saliva. And this is what causes malaria. So but it's still a virus. It's a virus. And then some diseases are passed on because of particles in the air. These are the airborne diseases. So what you need to understand, and this is why climate change is so important, even in healthcare, because the air is changing. And when the air changes, it affects every living thing. And even it affects bacteria, it even affects viruses. And so viruses change, Remember they were talking about the gonorrhea that was so severe in Cuba and all of those things. So what you have to understand is we live in a world that is always changing, temperature-wise, global warming. And then when global warming happens, it can change the viruses, the strains, and change the bacteria. So that's what has happened. And that's why the world has to be on standby. Especially scientists now should study the effect of global warming on human health and global warming on pathology, or these studies of diseases. Very interesting. Even I think some global warming can cause people even mental disorders. Who knows, People living in very hot places, the brain heats up. Have you ever had a phone that is overcharged? and it's so hot. Yes, some people can have brains like that. So it's very interesting. So what have we discovered here? Hepatitis B is about 4,500 years old. Wow, that's very interesting. And it's supporting my theory that most viruses, of course not all viruses, are quite old. Now let's go to HIV. How old is HIV? And we'll be done. How old is HIV? Wow, these guys are saying SIV transferred to humans and became HIV in the early 20th century, about 100 years ago. Let's try and read that one, but I want to get... Oh, Wikipedia has a whole article on that. Okay, let's read these ones first, then we go back to Wikipedia. How old is HIV? Thank you for your question. SIV transferred to humans and became HIV in the 20th century, 100 years ago. SIV is a similar virus that is likely to have infected non-human primates for thousands of years. Interesting. So these are the people who have the chimp theory, that HIV came from chimpanzees and then morphed into humans. So these guys say that it moved to humans 100 years ago. The earliest first cases in humans have been traced back to samples stored from patients who died in 1950 and 1960. Although people became infected during the 1970s, the first reported cases of new symptoms that were later shown to be related to HIV was in 1981. The virus was also identified in 1983 and shown to be directly related to the syndrome called AIDS. Let's see the comment. Okay, we don't need to go to AVAT. Let's go to how old is HIV, and let's read Wikipedia's view. And okay, let's read Wikipedia. There are too many articles about that. Very happy. Now you can see this is why HIV is real. This is HIV is in green, and it's budding from the cultured lymphocyte. It's attacking a lymphocyte. Now AIDS is caused by HIV, blah, 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 blah. Very long article. I'm not going to read a lot about it. The globe has its origins in the emergence of a specific strain HIV-1 subgroup in Leopoldville in the Belgian Congo, now Kinshasa, in the 1920s. Can you imagine? Okay, people are saying while various subgroups of the virus acquired human infectivity at different times, its origins are in the Belgian Congo, DRC. Of course, and the most important, I left that first sentence. The most important sentence is this: AIDS is caused by a human immunodeficiency virus, which is originated in non-human primates in Central and West Africa. Now, if you see that, I hope they should have put a footnote, but it's clear. HIV comes from non-primates. And have you noticed a trend? Most viruses came from primates, non-human primates. We've seen hepatitis B is 4,500 years old, and we have also seen HPV is also primate, and herpes is 1.6 million years old, and it also came from non-human primates. So I have a feeling viral diseases are very old, and that's why maybe they're so hard to deal with, because of their genetic nature. And I don't think we can go deeper. Let's find this transmission from non-humans to humans. The majority of HIV researchers agree that HIV evolved at some point from closely related simian immunodeficiency, that's the SIV you were reading, and was transferred from non-human primates to humans in the recent past as a type of zoonosis. Research in this area is conducted using molecular phylogenetics, comparing viral genomic sequences to determine relatedness. So they're saying, you see the chimpanzees and gorillas to humans, and they're living in Cameroon, and then the pandemic is mostly going through the Sangha River in Cameroon again. The region presumably where the virus was first transmitted from chimpanzees to humans. Now, I don't know how that transmission happened, but they are talking about it here. And of course, there's a lot of discussion. I'm not going to go deep into it. And they also did again in Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Ivory Coast. And they found these from dead end infections, and each of them had the SIV. And this is a bushmeat practice. According to the natural transfer theory, the simplest and most plausible explanation for the cross-species transmission of SIV or HIV, the virus was transmitted from an ape or a monkey to a human when a hunter or bushmeat handler was bitten and or cut while hunting or butchering the animal. The result exposure to the blood and other bodily fluids of the animal can result in SIV infection. So what you need to understand, there are very many theories, and most of them, they say they came from the non-human primates. I think now this is now the standard explanation of HIV, that it actually came from the chimps and then to humans, and now we are dealing with it. Of course, these are all the theories. The Congolese man is a theory, the Congolese woman, Robert Rayford, Afrid No, Ugandan children, and the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, the spread to the Western Hemisphere. Let's read this one. Were thought to have arrived in New York from Haiti around 1971. It spread from New York City to San Francisco around 1976. It is believed to have arrived in Haiti from Central Africa, probably from DRC around 1967. It came from Haiti by a known individual or individuals who contracted it while working in DRC from another person during that time. That's what they believe. And the virus entered male gay communities in large United States cities with a combination of casual multiple partner sex activity, with individuals averaging over 11 unprotected sexual partners per year, and relatively high transmission rates with anal intercourse allowed it to spread explosively, finally enough to be noticed. And there's a Canadian flight attendant theory. I remember this one, made me laugh. I think he was a bisexual. Yes, and he was a bisexual, if I'm not wrong. And he had sex with both men and women, and that's how it spread. And the homeless and people and intravenous drug users theory. But basically, we will go from greed to AIDS. It was called the gay-related, finally I can get to know what greed was. I forgot. Gay-related immune deficiency. Yes, it was. Sorry. I called it something else last time. And yeah, basically that's how long it is. But let's go with the first sentence of the article, and that is what we will say is caused by a human immunodeficiency virus which originated, this is what we are looking for, in non-human primates in Central and West Africa. So we have done a whole survey of STDs and we have seen how old they are. Let's now conclude. We have seen herpes is 1.6 million years old. We have seen HPV is less than 100 years old because it was first found around 1972. Though that doesn't mean that's how old it is. And then we have seen the syphilis to be around 600 years old, 500 years old. We have seen chlamydia also to be less than 100 years old. We have seen gonorrhea also to be around 900 years old. We have seen, what do you call it? Of course, we don't know how old Watts are, and we have also seen HIV to be, human HIV to be less than 100 years old, but non-primate HIV, that's SIV, to be quite old. So, what does this mean? It means humans have sex, and gay sex, heterosex, all sex, and raw sex happens. But in the process of having such sex, there are very many consequences. And in another video, we're going to discuss about the prevalence of a disease. Why are diseases very prevalent in populations? It's because, why is it? Is it that endogamous societies whereby they share the same genetic material, may not have the spread of the disease, like what you have in, and let's put some pictures so that we don't look bored, and this is we can look at that guy's lip. And so what I'm trying to say is that, is it that oops, I've just lost my train of thought. I was trying to say that why do people get these diseases from raw sex? Because raw sex has been happening for thousands of years and will continue happening. That's how people have children. People have children from raw sex, and that's how HIV spread in the gay community. It's because of raw sex. So what does this mean? This means that even though raw sex is good, it has consequences, and these are the consequences that give us many of these diseases that we have these days. But it doesn't mean that raw sex is bad. It's just that it is that there are diseases, there's a consequence. And I was also discussing now, I have a thought, and I'm going to confirm it, that endogamous societies that marry within themselves, or have sex within themselves for homosexuals, tend not to get diseases as much as exogamous. And maybe because of genetic differences and blood group differences and all of those things. So anyway, irrespective of whatever happens, whether a disease spreads in an exogamous or endogamous society, the fact is, right now science is doing very well. We are progressing by getting the answers and the medicine to solve all of these diseases that are happening, all these STDs. And so don't lose hope. Please don't fear sex. Don't fear having fun with your partner, and have fun and take care of yourself. Of course, we'll still do another video on HIV to discuss how HIV has been transformed thanks to progressive treatment that is making it disappear. And it's disappearing because of things like PrEP and PEP and all of these medicines that are out there. So people have to just be adhering to their medication, and that is what is going to reduce HIV and AIDS in the next 50 years to come. So we're going to talk about that when we do a proper video on HIV and AIDS. But this one was just to study how old various STDs are. And we have seen most STDs have lived with us for thousands of years, some millions of years, and some just 100 years or less. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you again.